Hello, hello, my name is Levi Mock, your low-budget movie buff, and this is a new segment I like to call Pervasive Thoughts. So I do my best to review movies and then make videos about them in a timely manner, but it does take a while, and in that downtime there's always a lot of things happening in the media, happening in pop culture, and I always have a lot of thoughts and feelings about them. And yes, I do discuss them with like a few close friends, a lot of family members, but I do always want to talk about and share these things with more people, so I thought, why not just make a video about it? So this is me attempting to do that. So if you will humor me for a bit, I do have some thoughts and feelings about a few topics. Today will just be one topic. So I hope that you care to listen, and if you care to discuss, please feel free to leave comments down below when this is all done. So very recently, I went and saw Spider-Man Far From Home with a few friends, and we had a great time. We enjoyed it, and as any group of friends does after you get out of a movie, you start to discuss things. We started to talk about what we liked, what we didn't like, what was to come for the MCU and for Spider-Man, things we would like to see in the future, but probably wouldn't happen, given, everything that happens with the studio heads at Marvel and wherever else. And then eventually we got on the topic of how could you fit Venom into the MCU?
What?
Now, amongst the three of us, I had the most knowledge as to why legally it couldn't work to put Sony's Venom into the MCU. Even aside from the fact that it'd just be really weird to shoehorn Tom Hardy's Venom into another world. But the debate still continued back and forth, like, could it be done? Is there a different way of doing it? And then the more we talked, the more the wheels started to turn, and then all of a sudden, boom, something struck me. And I wanted to see what you guys thought about it. Now, I know there's a lot of people who might think this is dumb, and there might be just an equal number of people who think this is not even an original thought. But why not just take Tony Revolori's Flash Thompson and make that your MCU Venom? Now, wait a minute. Now, just before everyone starts yelling at me, I do have my reasons for this, so just give it a listen, I beg of you. Now, we're all aware that Marvel can't use Venom because Sony likes to play hardball with all the Spider-Verse characters. But Flash Thompson Venom is an entirely different Venom, specifically called Agent Venom, which is an entirely different character with a distinct look, distinct motivation, and if I recall correctly, most of his exploits take place in space.
Whoa! I'm in space! How did I get here?
Regardless, now that Eddie Brock's Venom already exists in the Sony universe, and Marvel seems to have no desire to bring that version of Venom in, I think this would be a great alternative, whether they could do it legally or whether they'd have to negotiate for it. Now, it's important to understand that MCU Flash Thompson is far and away different from his comic book counterpart. And for as much love and respect as I have for the classic origins of Agent Venom, which is based off the real exploits of a real-life soldier, I really don't think that that origin story lends itself to the MCU incarnation that we have. For those of you that are unaware, Flash Thompson in the comic books really looks up to Spider-Man, and so he joins the military to emulate the heroic exploits of his favorite superhero. So he goes overseas, he does rescue some of his friends during a firefight, he gets shot in the leg, and he loses both of his legs. And then in return, the military recognizes his bravery, his courage, and then gives him the Venom symbiote to give him the use of his legs again, but also gives him more power and to do more specialized missions for the military. Now, the military angle, for as cool as it is, I think would either take way too long to do, or it would be sped over way too fast, which would just be a major disservice to the origin story and to the soldiers that it's based on. So I have something else in mind that I think could work better for the movies. Now, taking what we're given in this movie, we know that Flash Thompson is rich, spoiled, super smart, attention-seeking, and a bit of a bully, especially when it comes to Peter Parker.
Sup, dickwad?
We also know that he has an estranged relationship with his parents and that he's a huge fan of Spider-Man, so much to the point that he even says,
What, he looks out for the neighborhood, has a dope suit, and I really respect him.
I think all of this lays the groundwork for a great Venom origin, especially when you couple it with the end of Far From Home. Alright, so big spoilers for Far From Home from here on out, so I'll give you guys like 5 seconds to vacate. Already? Go. Okay, so at the end of Far From Home, Peter's secret identity has been revealed to the world, and Mysterio has framed him for murder and for, like, robotic terrorism, I guess. In the inevitable sequel, I could easily see Flash Thompson, the young man that already has problems with his parents at home, someone who constantly seeks the attention of his peers, someone who habitually tries to use money to generate happiness in his life, someone who undoubtedly has an inferiority complex and unresolved internal issues, becomes bitter and angry because the one thing, the one shining example of a person that he had in his life turns out to be a fraud, a liar, and a killer, or at least made out to be one. Now, from this point, you just need a scene where Spider-Man is trying to do his best to be Spider-Man and save the city, despite what everyone thinks of him. And you just need Flash Thompson to enter that scene, go into some danger, and then Spider-Man has to try to save him from like a fall or something. So let's just say it's a fall. So Spider-Man swoops in, he catches Flash out of the air, but because Flash is kind of angry and scared of Spider-Man, like everyone else is, he kind of struggles. He struggles in Spider-Man's arms and he falls. And the fall can either break or sever his legs. It's PG-13, so I won't actually show that. Or he can like hit his back and break his spine, and then it leaves him paralyzed.
My spine!
However it happens, he just can't use his legs going forward for one reason or another. Fast forward to Flash now being in a hospital or in some really high-end, expensive home care system his parents paid for. Flash's life at this point has taken a major downturn, and in the midst of this, his parents do their best to reconnect with them and try to help their son walk again as soon as possible. They then pull some strings with some military friends and connections that they have and get this very experimental treatment that they hope will help their son. They pitch the idea to Flash, but he's still kind of bitter, has that estranged relationship with them, and kind of says no. In response, the parents give an emotional speech saying they're trying to sort of make up for lost time. They just want to help him. And eventually, Flash accepts the treatment. The treatment which turns out to be, who could have guessed? So as one would think, he can walk again, everything's going great. But then eventually the Venom symbiote starts to tap into Flash's anger and his bitterness, and he lashes out against his parents and the military personnel that are present. Maybe he kills his parents, maybe he just hurts them or scares them, whatever it may be. The military is forced to detain Flash and ships him off to a military facility where the military promises that they'll take care of him, reform him, and try to calm him down. But the American government, being the American government, then starts training Flash, starts making him into like a sort of super soldier program, which is where the more Agent Venom stuff takes place. And so you can have some of that happen, but you can also have on the side that maybe Flash doesn't forget Peter, that he doesn't forget that he's still angry, that he's still bitter, and he holds on to it. At some point, he then escapes with the intent to eventually go off and kill Spider-Man, which is probably the major change to the sort of military angle that the original comic books have. Or better yet, you can have the military take him away, throw him in confinement, and still train him, but with the intent to utilize him to fight Spider-Man. Because remember, Spider-Man at this point is a criminal. He is seen as a major threat with superpowers, so you can have the American government trying to have their own sort of weapon to combat him and maybe other superheroes. And maybe Spider-Man's just a big test run for them to see if Agent Venom works, that sort of thing. I think there's a few different routes you can go with. But I do think that would be a good idea, that the American government is involved with that. And then you can still have Flash Thompson harboring all that anger and all those issues that he has with Peter Parker, and he can go off and try to kill him, but upon the orders of the American government, who already sees him as a threat. Yeah, actually, I think I do like that version better, because that more evokes the actual agent side of Agent Venom, you know?
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
Regardless, at this point, you now have a version of Agent Venom in the MCU that now has a tragic backstory, has motivation, and has plenty of room to grow either as a villain or as an anti-hero.
Maybe.
Now, because Agent Venom is so different, I'd like to think Marvel could use him and get away with it, but I really don't know. Maybe they'd have to negotiate for it. If not, maybe they could just, use the idea, but then call it something else, like not use the word symbiote and not use the name Venom. Maybe call him some sort of generic ripoff, kind of like Venom. No, No. But maybe. No, don't do it. But then what's really the point if he's not called Venom, you know? I don't know, man. Maybe the idea just can't work because of copyright issues, and let's face it, I'm no expert on copyright.
You're a phony! Hey, everybody! This guy's a great big phony!
But you know what? The more I think about it, the more I am growing keen on the idea of just using some sort of generic copyright knockoff of Venom, but you just don't call him Venom, you know, but he still has a suspiciously similar power set. I think my personal favorite, denim. Of course, then you'd have to do something with like symbiote denim jeans or something. It'd be really hard to do. I still want to see it. But whatever. What do you guys think? That's what I really want to know. I know it's not the most original idea, but I just want to know, do you think it could work? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Do you have a better idea in mind? Please let me know. Also, I'd be curious to see what sorts of generic knockoffs you guys could come up with. So if you guys have anything in mind, please share down below, whether it's just in description or whether you actually have fan art for it. I would love to see fan art of that if you guys have it. But yeah, please be nice to each other. That's all I'm asking. But that's all I have for today, guys. Thank you for joining me on this first episode of Pervasive Thoughts. Remember,
We are Venom.
and as always, stay happy, stay healthy, stay awesome. Stay you. Peace. Bye.